guys, it's AJ, your favorite lesbian commentary YouTuber, and we're back with another banger today. Part 2, listening to or watching the Oracle podcast with Seba. I'm on my period, I'm tired, it's late, and this video needs to go out tomorrow. So, you're in for a doozy. Not in the mood to play around. For the record, this is not a day caller. I feel like on camera, it looks like a day caller. It is just a locket. It is just a locket with my fiance inside. If you don't know what I'm talking about when I say the podcast with Seba and Oracle, then go watch my last video where we watched part 1, the first 30 minutes of that podcast, and now we're going to go through the second 30 minutes. Do you like my outfit? I call this French in the top, Irish on the bottom, or Scottish. Who's the one that wears the plaid? Who wears the plaid? Tell me right now. All my PMDD girlies rise up, because if you have PMDD, you know exactly what I'm going through right now. If you remember where we left off, it was Toya saying that if you don't want to show children porn, then you're the problem.
And collectors, by pushing that like very intentionally as part of like the proyecto civilizatorio de la modernidad colonialidad. What happened after that? That then the profession of you being a sex work, then it was roughly, put that also like into shadows. That is where it starts to become a taboo.
I think sex work has always been a little bit taboo. I feel like if it hasn't been, Greco-Roman times, maybe not as much. But I think in modern time, it's always been pretty taboo. It's not just a Western thing. And maybe I'm lying. Educate me below. But I feel like sex work has always been just even a little bit taboo.
Experiencing right now, and even when these people talk, like thinking that they are not biased, like that's that. It's literally coloniality. It's literally modernity.
And it's genocide, because if we look across every single place that is experiencing genocide and U.S. imperialism, from Palestine, Haiti, Palestine, Haiti, La République, or the Democratic Republic of Congo, Sudan, Tigray, all of these places, you see an attack on people's right to have autonomy. You see, women and other people who are pregnant not being able to carry their babies to term. You see children being killed. You see queer people being persecuted. That is all connected, as you said, to the violence of colonialism and the ways that, Black and brown people of the global South have been subjected to sexual violence.
This again is an example of them bringing up actual issues to back up their bad points. If you remember in part 1, this conversation is about them saying that porn should be used as sexual education. So to bring up atrocities happening across the world to connect them to your gross point is tone deaf and insensitive and gross and in bad taste. Because the issues these places are facing, the sexual violence these people are actually experiencing is real. And for you to see that and point to it and be like, this connects to the same thing as to why you guys don't want me to say that kids should watch porn. It is purposely ignorant and gross.
It's not us that are the violent ones. It is the colonizers and those who align with them that are the problem,
Exactly.
It's not me wanting to be like, hey, I want to teach Black children in my community how to feel sexually empowered. That is the problem. It is the people that want to keep our children and our people ignorant and therefore easy to control. And when you're easy to control, you're easy to dominate. It's easier to take your land. It's easier to exploit it. It's easier to commit ethnocide and destroy your culture. So,
I don't understand why two things can be true. You're a bad person, and also they're bad people. Are you doing the same amount of bad? No, but I would argue that doing gross rhetoric is very bad also. By Toya's logic, if you agree with me, then that means you're a colonizer and you want children to be taken advantage of. So if you don't think children should watch porn, you are a colonizer and you want children to be taken advantage of. Okay. Just because you say something confidently does not make it right. So I'm going to say the same thing that they just said, but in a different tone. It's not us who are the violent ones. It's the colonizers and those who align with them. It's not me being like, I want to teach black children in my community to feel sexually empowered. You see how much more creepy it sounds? Toya is a creep in a liberal trench coat. So yes, not showing kids porn makes them ignorant. But in what way does that make them easier to take advantage of? Because as long as they're still teaching sexual safety, as in, don't let people touch you there and there and there, you know, these are my private parts, private parts, private parts. These are my private parts. As long as you're teaching that stuff still, they do not need to watch porn. That does not make them easier to take advantage of. They're just saying stuff. Saying stuff and hoping that nobody checks you or actually thinks about it.
Yeah. And the whole thing of like being anti-porn and, like you said, it's just whorephobia. It's literally patriarchy 101. It's like, you know, it really, every time that I think about it, I go back to what I read in this book that is called El Caliban y la Bruja, The Caliban and the Witch by Silvia Federici. And she basically explains how for capitalism to exist, patriarchy has to, like it was key. So what they were doing in Europe prior to 1492, that they will like literally take the same techniques, of like oppression and genocide and the whole, um, civil proyecto civilizatorio. They will like literally copy paste that in Aviala. But in Europe, with the creation of patriarchy, they created the they needed a workforce, for the capitalists to exploit and to profit out of. So that workforce, and I'm just like paraphrasing this, like please read the book so you can like really like get into the nitty gritty of it. But the gist of the whole content of the book is that by creating this workforce that now is gonna be every single woman in Europe, right? They are gonna justify, oppressing them for the purpose of, capitalism, right? So women need to be, hidden. They need to be controlled.
Submissive,
right.
demure.
They are witches. Like they are like messing all of that. All of that was for the purpose of exploitation, right?
Yep.
Of you having control over this now whole group of people that makes like half of the population, under the palm of your hand.
Yep.
And that you can maneuver and constrain. And a huge part of that was sex work.
Yeah.
So by now having this, very renowned and like known work, job that was like pretty normal, now it's like, basically prohibited. And a whole fucking sin and taboo.
I don't think being anti-porn is patriarchy 101. Yes, Siba makes some accurate points here. Patriarchy and capitalism do go hand in hand. And I have no doubt that sex work has been demonized because of the patriarchy. But let's not get misunderstood. That's not the conversation you're having here. You're trying to tie that to the fact that you think that children should watch porn. They are trying to explain that the reason that you and I don't want kids to watch porn is because we are colonizers. Our minds have been poisoned by the patriarchy.
Convince people that their pleasure is sinful, oh, you've won.
Yeah.
If you can convince, let me say that again, if you can convince people that their pleasure is a sin, then you have won this colonialist agenda,
Yeah. So it's pretty intentional, like it's systemic. And that is why I need people to really understand, that the reason that what they are so aberrant, to something like porn that is directly connected to sex work, that is directly connected to a form of sexuality and a way of being sexual that is not for the purpose of, producing workers, that is not for the purpose of, Christianity. It's because of that. ¿Tú me entiendes? It really goes down to that.
I hate that they make good points and then start to defecate on it literally immediately. Number one, sex work is for the purpose of creating workers. I think they're forgetting that sex work is still a job. It's still work. I think they're forgetting that not everybody is like them. Not everybody is sitting at home doing it by themselves and actually enjoying it. It's a genuinely taxing and sometimes degrading job that also helps support the patriarchy and capitalism. I personally did not enjoy sex work when I did it, so maybe I just have a tainted point of view. But other sex workers I've talked to also would say the same thing. Work is work.
You cannot convince yourself of otherwise, and this is what people are struggling with. Like me, a leftist, someone who has deconstructs, myself so much. Like, yeah, you. And by admitting that, you can start, then, but you had to have that humility.
Yeah.
You had to have the slowness to sit down with that and like really go into like, what is that I feel the urge, to suppress this information.
Part of why I feel an urge, a deep, strong urge to suppress porn from children is because this feels so good to finally say. Is because if they learn what to do, they might become better than me. They might be better than me at it. That feels so good to get off my chest. Fuck out of here.
Allow myself to see it in a more expansive way.
Yeah.
Because like you said, that form of media can be used for multiple things.
Mm-hmm.
That can be beneficial, that can be of growth, that can be of healing, collectively. But we had to intentionally make it so.
Yeah.
Because media at the end of the day is
what
tool.
You make it. Yeah.
It's a tool, tú sabes.
Which brings me to the next point to continue the conversation is that people have said that porn is inherently violent. And my response to that is, like all forms of media, porn is versatile. So as you said, you can find things that are pretty extreme, but also with the caveat that porn stars are people who are workers, who are consenting to engaging in these scenes. So another element of whorephobia is thinking that, if you see a woman being choked by a man, that is violence.
Okay, so we agree they're workers, but this somehow is not connected to patriarchy and capitalism. But other work is, and you not liking this work is connected to patriarchy and capitalism. Okay. I think I'm starting to understand where we're working at. Delusion. If I see somebody choking somebody else, yes, I'm gonna assume it's violent. Sue me. Send me to jail, lock me up, throw away the key. And this is from somebody with an affinity of liking to be a little bit roughed up. Stuff like this is honestly why porn is so exploitative. Sometimes a studio or a random guy will make a listing of, what they want you to do for a lot of money, and it's something that you might not even necessarily want to do, but you do it for the money. People make listings like, I need a girl who's willing to be ball gagged and tortured, $1,000. And a woman, they're gonna do it. People are gonna do it. People need money. So just because you see it and they look like they're enjoying it does not mean they actually are. It's called acting. It's called faking. It's called being a sex worker. Also, sometimes the performers are underaged. Sex work is not a really well-regulated field.
When in fact, there are some women that like being choked.
Yeah.
And you don't have the right to yuck somebody else's yum and say, you're not allowed to get choked. If that brings you pleasure.
I'm not exactly sure what Toya's into, but yuck. I agree. You should not yuck somebody's yum. Unless it's Toya. In that case, I'm yucking the yum every time. I'm yucking your yum. I don't think they're saying that people can't get choked. I think they're just saying they don't want kids to see it. Like, people can make whatever porn they want. I just don't want kids watching it, personally. But that's just me. Hey.
So yeah, my response to that is porn is not inherently violent. Like all forms of media, there is a variety of porn. I have a preference for amateur porn. When I was a young person, I really loved amateur porn, specifically lesbian porn. And it's literally just like two girlfriends,
Now that I know what he's into, I unfortunately cannot in good faith yuck that yum.
So you have that. You also might have, kinkier shit. But there is such a vast variety of pornography that whenever people come with the porn is inherently violent, one, you're wrong. And two, like, you are you're making an overgeneralization of what you think pornography is.
Kind of how like you're making an overgeneralization on what you think kids want based on what you want.
I don't know if you
Yeah.
and treating sex workers, treating people that make the porn as if they are, just passive, that they are not active parties in creating this material.
It's not a legitimate way of working, it's not a legitimate workforce, know. They were just like,
they're just forced. They were forced to be there. They were forced to take a 7-inch dick down their throat. You know, like, absolutely not.
I personally don't find that funny. In 2020, Pornhub was sued by 20 women because they were forced to do porn. And they sued Pornhub because they were profiting from their human trafficking. Also, a lot of amateur porn is revenge porn. Couples just videoing themselves for fun and then somebody gets mad and posts it. But I guess he doesn't want to talk about that.
And also, another thing I said, well, if you don't like the porn that is out there, then make it yourself. That's what I've been doing. I've been making content that I would enjoy. I don't see a lot of bodies like mine. I might see, dark-skinned, fat Black women, but I don't see a lot of fat, Black, transmasculine, disabled people when I go on Pornhub. And so I decided to make my own content. If you don't like what you see out there, then create it. I am a creator. Liberation requires creation. We need to create the worlds that we want to exist in.
Do you guys think he watches his own porn to like, you know?
And a lot of these people doing yap are people who are not creating shit, but perpetuating these systems of oppression.
Hey, I do yap, but I also create. Stream my music at Lady Lover. It's on Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, anywhere you can listen to music, Lady Lover. Except for if you happen to listen to the song Laughing Eyes, please ignore that. On my Lady Lover TikTok account, that song would... People like that song a lot, even though it's kind of like a meme song. So just like, don't listen to that one expecting it to be good, okay? It's just...
Yeah. And I think that a key question for, people saying this is also, if you are finding yourself also like just completely aberrant and uncomfortable having this conversation, you have to ask like, what is that you actually are prohibiting?
Mm-hmm.
You are not only prohibiting, the media and the consumption of it, but you're also, prohibiting people to exist, and to survive.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because me saying kids shouldn't watch porn or be forced to watch porn is going to make a huge dent in porn profits. Yeah, right.
Like porn, for example.
Yeah.
And by you doing that, you do not actually effectively prohibit something. It's just now still, it still exists, but now, in secret, under the shadows, which allows even more danger, and violence to happen. Like you, as long as you want and try, you will never prohibit something as basic, and as essential for a lot of people, like a media, for the ppurpose of, you seeking pleasure and you having a pleasure experience. That is like, you find you that is like prohibiting recipes for you to eat. That is like prohibiting prescriptions for you to cure yourself.
And food and prescriptions, porn. One of these things is not like the other. You think he just fell out of a coconut tree? I think I used to see Seba as like a victim of Toya. But unfortunately, I think there are two people in this world who think the exact same way and they found each other. Unfortunately. I think we're giving Seba way too much grace.
It's just like when the U.S. prohibited alcohol. During the Prohibition era, prohibiting alcohol didn't mean that people weren't drinking. It just meant that the alcohol went underground. It wasn't as regulated. It became more dangerous to consume. That is what happens when you try to prohibit things. They do not disappear. They just go underground where they cannot be properly, regulated.
I think we've lost the plot of the movie. Nobody's taking porn away. We're just saying we think it's weird that you want to show it to kids. We're not gonna take your porn. Don't worry about that. It still exists. In some states it's just harder to access. But you can still access it. Trust you me.
And so, yeah, as you said, trying to prohibit people think porn is what creates patriarchal violence. It's like, no, patriarchal violence is what creates sexual violence. That has nothing to do with pornography and sex work.
This is literally one of the easiest things to research. Porn exposure and sexual violence. And you will find countless studies about it. Countless. Look it up. Do it right now. You'll see so many studies about it. One of the studies I read from Monday's video, when I read those studies, but one of the ones I read that I did not include was about how women having early exposure to porn when they're young increases the risk of them being sexually victimized.
But if you want to get rid of sexual violence,
sex work predates patriarchy.
Thank you. And if you want to get rid of sexual violence, then shaming people for wanting to have sex and making sex something that needs to be kept a secret actually makes sexual violence even more even worse.
I think a world can exist where we don't show kids porn, but also don't demonize sex. The two are not mutually exclusive. We don't have to do one or the other. I also think we don't have to encourage it and be like, yeah, have sex. If you want to, go and do it. Have sex. I think we can tell them, hey, there's a time and place for everything, and right now, the time is for you to learn. You can have sex eventually. Nobody's saying you can't have sex, but I just feel like right now your energy would be better suited focusing on geometry. Your energy would be better utilized doing AP Bio homework. I think it's okay to tell them to shift their priorities and main focus into something productive that isn't sex and gooning. So I think as a society, we can't make the good faith judgment to show kids porn for that reason. Because not all kids are ready at the same time. Not all kids have the same priorities. Some kids are going to be a little bit more ready and probably should have deeper conversations about sex, but not all kids are.
As I said in my TikTok video, a lot of sex workers, myself included, have literally used sex work to escape patriarchal violence, to escape sexual violence. Literally a couple months ago, I lived with somebody who was hypersexualizing me because I was walking around our home without a shirt on, like I am now, just chilling. They were hypersexualizing me. Hypersexualizing somebody for just existing in their naked body is a precursor to rape. I was living with a potential rapist. I was living with somebody with a rapist mindset. And it is sex work that allowed me to get out of that violent ass situation.
Yeah.
So how about that?
Just so we know what he's talking about, I'll give you the context. He's talking about this a lot, and the person came out and talked about it. So he lived with this person who had kids, and he would walk around topless in front of the kids and in front of the person. And then this person said that Toya was indecently exposing himself around their kids. That is the sexualizing that he's talking about. He's saying that because this person said, hey, Toya, you're kind of exposing yourself to my children, and I don't like that. That is him being sexualized. Mind you, this person never made a sexual pass at him. He's told this story on other platforms, and he has never mentioned them doing anything to him. He's saying that because they called him being shirtless indecent exposure, that means they see his body as sexual. And that means they're going to touch him or something. Also, he was kicked out. Again, he's acting like a world doesn't exist where those kids came to their parent and said, hey, this person is shirtless a lot, and I don't want to see that in the house, and it's making me feel really weird that they're shirtless all the time. Maybe that parent is protecting their child and doesn't want to be like, hey, my kid doesn't like this, so they're taking the fault for it.
Sex as a job, as a work that you can do, oftentimes it's one of the only few options that are available to you when you are like a multi-marginalized. For example, myself, I'm a migrant right now, still undocumented. I don't know the language. I cannot work, I still don't have the papers and the regulations for me to, like, for example, go to a call center and apply for a job, right? But I still need to pay rent. I still need to eat. Mm-hmm. So the moment that I land in this country, it just clicked to me, sex work, It's so easy because I don't have to, I don't have to go to an interview.
Yep.
I don't have to be tested. This is something that I can do, from the comfort of my home, It can also be virtual. Like there's that
Yep.
The
Like,
presence doesn't even have to happen.
I do virtual
But
sex work.
oftentimes it's like it's the opposite. You think that sex work is the most dangerous work to do, and oftentimes it's the opposite.
Okay, self-report. I want to say that when I was a sex worker, I had never felt more unsafe in my life. Nobody tells you before you start sex work how easy it is to get popular. And in my prime, I was kind of popping in my niche. And I unfortunately had a few people who were obsessed with me. There was one guy. So I had quit doing sex work, but I still had my old TikTok up for it. That was just me wearing boobily tops. And this guy kept DMing me on it, and I would never respond to his DMs. But one day I look at his page to be like, who is this? And I see he's following 3 people or maybe 4 people. And it's all my accounts. So it's my former sex work account, my music account, my other public account, and I had another public account. So he was following all of my accounts and also following one of my friends that he found through the people I was following. And to me, that was genuinely terrifying to be like, why aren't you following anybody else? Why are you following only me and one of my friends that doesn't even do sex work? To any young people who are watching this, who are considering going into the field, I just want to say, think to yourself before you start, am I willing to get famous for this line of work? Am I willing to be well known for this line of work and not be making money? Because the money's not always going to be there. Sometimes there is really good money, but it's not always going to be there. So there's a possibility that you will become well known and still be broke. Are you willing to have that possibility? If you are, then go for it. I really think that some people it is for them, but it's not for everybody. It is incredibly easy to get well known in a specific niche. In my prime, I literally got recognized in public.
Right. Sex work is one of the few businesses where you don't need money to make money. Right. Okay, you might need a cute outfit, but you can make it work for yourself, right? Yeah. A lot of people I've known who have tried to start their own businesses, you need a lot of capital to even start the business. Right. But with me, for example, also being a migrant, also being undocumented.
Whatever their country's version of ICE is, needs to get those hoes out of there. Actually don't, because then they're going to come here. Never mind. Keep them, please. I will vouch for them on their application.
Being physically disabled, being COVID conscious, making my Pornhub account was just a few minutes, setting up my camera, recording some videos, posting it, and I'm getting the ad revenue, or I'm getting clients who are subscribing to my OnlyFans.
I just want to say again, Pornhub ad revenue is not great. Unless you're getting a lot of views in the millions, you're not making that much money from those ads. It's good to convert clients, but he's not making shit from ad revenue.
I used to be a classroom teacher, and I actually got my first COVID infection being in a classroom, and my administrators would not accommodate me. So this was really the easiest way for me to go. During the pandemic, at the start of the pandemic, I was doing financial domination. That is how I paid my bills, and I made a lot of money that I would have not had gotten even from disability benefits. Because I didn't qualify for disability benefits because of the fat phobia and medical racism that I experienced. Doctors wouldn't even give me a proper diagnosis in order for me to get on disability. So it was sex work all the way, that allowed me to pay my bills, that allowed me to get mobility aids for myself. I really don't see any other way that I could have made it, if not for that.
Yeah.
I see discourse about how it's weird that he used to be a teacher and now he just has bad takes and has an OF. But as somebody who quite literally did the opposite, I think I have a lot to say about this. Get ready for a long tangent. I always hated having jobs like Toya, but I still had them anyway. I still hate having jobs. Not in the way that's I don't want to go to work, but as in the longest I've ever stayed at a job up until recently was 6 months before I went to the psych ward, because of how truly miserable it made me, to the point where I was I think I'd just rather kill myself than do this job anymore. In my brain, that was the only other option, was kill myself or do the job. So I have nothing but empathy for people who do struggle with working, because I am somebody who is disabled in many ways, physically and mentally disabled. It's hard for me to do things. And so I have empathy for Toya in that way, that I understand sometimes mentally wanting to is not always enough. Wanting to work is not always enough. But I did it anyway. It did wreck me, and it still does wreck me sometimes, but I do it anyway because I want to survive. I want to live a life. I started doing sex work because I was physically and mentally in a horrible spot. My autoimmune disease was flared up. My mental health was at rock bottom, and I needed money bad. Sex work depends on desperation from all parties. It's exploiting the fact that you're poor. You're so poor that you will take money for your body. When I eventually got physically better, because I, as somebody who's chronically ill, try to do anything in my power to feel better, unlike Toya. I don't like being sick. But once I got a little bit better, I tried having normal jobs and still wanted to kill myself when I had those kind of jobs. So I started becoming like a substitute teacher, then a long-term substitute teacher, and it changed my life. It was so different from the life I had before of being sexualized literally every day to then feeling like people just, are around me. People are not sexualizing me. I'm just existing without being sexualized. And that was like so freeing. I was actually helping people and that made me feel great. So I started as a regular substitute teacher. Then I transitioned into doing long-term substitute teaching, which means I would substitute for months to a year at a time sometimes, meaning I was literally being the classroom teacher. I was doing the lesson plans. I was doing everything minus the benefits. But what I did for my mental health, it helped me because I could just leave whenever. Or, well, not whenever. I could leave when my contract was over. It didn't feel like other jobs where you just keep going and going and going and going and there's no end in sight. You just kind of keep going. Tips for people who are dealing with mental illness: if you feel like you cannot work a normal job, get something that's temp. Agency, something that has an end date. Because for me, that was something that was crucial for my mental health and really helped me be able to survive, because I cannot do a normal job without, for some reason, ending up in the psych ward. Because the last straw, I think, does not have to be you shaking your booty online. If you don't want to do that, if you want to, if you genuinely have a passion for that, then do it. But if that's not something that you want to do, then don't do it. Find something that works for you that isn't exploiting your body if that's not what you want to do. I feel like I did sex work as like a last resort thing, and I definitely don't regret it. I think that's a part of my life that happened for a reason. I think having regrets about your younger self is weird, because everything my younger self did was to keep me alive. So I'm very grateful that I did the things I needed to do to be alive. But now that I am alive and I'm doing something different now, I am kind of like, I think being a former sex worker has given me so much appreciation for the life I have now. Appreciation for just being able to exist in a job without feeling like people are just constantly looking at you in that way. And don't get me wrong, people still do. I mean, I have big boobies. People are always looking at me weird. But at least they don't feel the right to my body. Also, mind you, I'm a lesbian. All my clients were men. Because people will say, oh no, I'll be a sex worker, but only for women. Where are the clients? Find me the female clients right now. Find them. Female clients for female performers, very, very few. Very few. Long story short, sex work helped me when I was at my lowest. And because of that, it showed me how exploitative the industry can be. Not for everyone, but for the desperate. For people who need money so bad they're willing to cross their personal boundaries for money. I know it makes me sound like I'm anti-sex worker, but I really am not. I would never blame a sex worker for being a victim to the industry. Because I do truly think a lot of sex workers are victims. Like, you see a few people here and there who make so much money that their life has changed. But for most people who do it, their lives stay the same. They're just surviving. It's not a field for everybody, and it was not a field for me, so I'm really glad that I'm out of it. And again, if you're young and you're thinking about doing sex work, I want you to think about what I'm saying about how easy it is to get popular, and also when you tell people, understanding that there's always going to be a connotation between you and sex worker. That people are going to have judgments about you. I've never experienced anything negative IRL, people saying bad things about me. People usually just think it's funny lore. But you have to be prepared for the fact that people are going to think certain things about you because of your past decisions. Like, I'm sure there are people out there who think it's weird that I was formerly a sex worker and now work with a complete opposite demographic. But I'm okay with that. I'm prepared for that mentally, because I know what I did. I know what I did. We'll see how much of that stays in, because I was yapping for a while.
So this is going to be the last portion of this podcast.
I changed my t-shirt because it was really
yes,
hot. It was really hot.
It's fucking hot.
I just wish both of them would put on a nice lip combo. I think it would really elevate their look if they just had some gloss.
Yeah, and which brings me to our next topic, which is that nudity is not inherently violent and should not be... Oh, sorry. This is what people have said. Nudity should not be seen in public spaces because people equate nudity to sex and sex to violence. This is my preferred state of being. Like, just me in my body, no clothes on. It's my preferred state of being. Not only that, it makes sense geographically speaking, because I am a person of African descent living in hot ass climates. The fuck do I look like always putting on a fucking t-shirt and shorts and pants? Like, and I'm big bodied, and I have chronic illnesses and disabilities that make me intolerant to the heat.
Yeah.
But that's beyond the point.
So people are saying this based on, like, it shouldn't exist in public spaces because people cannot consent to it?
Right. And my response to that is, Did colonized people like Africans and Native Americans consent to colonialism? Because a lot of indigenous groups do not have the same values around nudity as colonizers did. A lot of indigenous peoples, we do not see nudity as inherently sexual or violent. No. So consent where? It's like, I didn't consent to you hypersexualizing my body.
What a laughable thing to say. You can't put a shirt on because you're from African descent. I am too, and I promise you it's never that hot. It's never that hot. No one, and I mean no one in this room at least, is sexualizing you, at least hypersexualizing you. The only sexualizing that's happening is us being like, you're sexually weird. I just personally don't want to see your tits. And I feel the same amount of violated when I see a cis man with his tits out. I don't want to see their tits either. I only want to see one person's tits in this life.
Yeah. And for me, it's also, again, people just throwing words and not actually knowing what they mean. Yep. You can only consent to something that is happening to you. To your body. To you. Someone existing in the streets and just walking past by you, that is not happening to you. That person is existing. ¿Tú me entiendes? So that isn't something for you to, consent or not.
Right.
So it's a very perverse way of like misplacing this word, vaciándola de contenido.
I would argue it is happening to me. Negative emotions are happening to my body. Visuals are happening to my eyes, and I don't like it. Consent means to agree to or to allow. I did not agree to seeing your naked body.
Yep.
To then put your own, meaning to it so it worked for your narrative of what? Controlling people's bodies.
What in the co-optation?
There is nothing to consent because a person just existing in nudity, it's not happening to you.
I'm not doing nothing to you. Period.
But it's that.
I don't want to control you. I just also want to be comfortable. Like, if I was topless for the rest of this video, I'm sure I would lose quite a bit of viewers. Because not everybody wants to see that. Why is your comfort all that matters? Again, I think this honestly boils down to the fact that Toya is selfish. We've said it once, we'll say it again. He's selfish.
Seeing, you as a clothed person, seeing a person who is not without clothes on as a different. It's different. It's diverse. It's an other. I must exterminate it. I must dominate it because it's gonna endanger me. That is modernity culinarity 101. That is exactly how colonizers, saw all of these different ways of being. That was not only one. ¿Tú me entiendes?
Yep.
It was multiple.
Me, as a clothed person, I just have eyes. And I don't want to see people be naked all the time. Y'all see why I say Professor Seba is just as bad as Toya? Because they say the same things. Seba says things that I think are honestly just as bad as Toya. Same thing.
They're not having places to sexually please themselves.
Right.
If somebody's masturbating in a public space,
that is
happening to you. It's free to mind your own business, Christopher Columbus. And that's exactly what I'm going to start calling people like that. It's giving Christopher Columbus.
What? I mind my own business, but unfortunately, if your dick is out in front of me, I am going to cut it off. I don't want to see your private parts or you doing private stuff. I don't want to. I feel like an ideal world to Toya would be everybody naked, gooning all day.
It's giving you came across, quote unquote, you came across, really you invaded. You invaded somebody else's personal space and said that they shouldn't exist.
Right.
No, because no, I didn't say that, and no, I didn't do that. I did not say that or do that. So I don't know who you're talking about, but it's not me. I didn't even do that.
You're an invader.
And for me, that's why sex is really, because what taught me sex, where I start and where I begin. Yep. I start in my body, where I end in my body, But what culinarity teaches us and modernity, the entitlement, if you think that you can dominate and that you can tell on somebody else's life, then that's the truth. That's a reality when it is not, the whole Descartes, thing of I think therefore I am. It's no. You have a place in this reality.
Yep.
You have your own place. It's from that place, it's from that power that you should, enact and coexist with your environment.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys catch that? Because I did not. And I do not think it's a language barrier. I think she is truly just saying words. She's saying buzzword after buzzword after buzzword and just word salading.
It would fundamentally exist.
And that's sad. it's sad that your existence is dependent on making sure somebody else doesn't exist.
Right.
It really doesn't have to be that way at all.
So now you're making generalizations. Okay. If a homeless person needs to pleasure themselves so badly, there are places they can do that. A bush in the nighttime. Might I suggest a porta potty? A bathroom?
And like I said in the TikTok video, I said that I am here for the decriminalization of public nudity, quite frankly. And whoever isn't is not, is not as radical as they think they are. Decriminalizing public nudity not only benefits children who can often, pull their pants down or expose themselves in public because they don't live by the same social norms and feelings of shame that adults do. It also criminalizes nursing parents who need to, breastfeed or chest feed their children in public. It also criminalizes, like we mentioned, indigenous people, some of whom have not adopted Western clothing, homeless people, queer people who are cruising in public spaces, sex workers who are, strolling.
I think I talked about this in my first video I made on him, but nobody is calling the cops on a child for dropping their pants in public. Nobody. Who is calling the cops on a mom for breastfeeding? Yes, it's widely debated if women should breastfeed in public, but they're not getting arrested for breastfeeding in public. You're making up things that don't exist to feed your point.
Like, it literally criminalizes just life. Life, And to the people who are just like, well, I don't want to see that. Okay, cool. Walk away.
Yeah.
Walk away. Or roll away if you're in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Just go away. You know what I'm saying? Oh, well, people need a private spaces. Okay, yeah, there can be private spaces. But again, do y'all really know the difference between privacy and secrecy? Because it seems like y'all actually want things done in secret. Yeah. Y'all want people hidden away. And I know this all too well as somebody that is disabled, that is impacted by people literally wanting to hide disabled people and shove us into institutions to medically incarcerate us. Do y'all actually know the difference between wanting privacy and wanting secrecy? Because I don't think you really do.
Yeah.
I think I do. I think Toya has a lot of trauma around therapy, and that stems from him being institutionalized. But if the argument we saw with him and his mom that I made a video on is any indicator on how he was growing up, I think it might have been for a valid reason. He was very hostile and belligerent.
Okay, yes, there can be dungeons where people can, do their kink shit. There can be, bars and clubs where gay people, can do their gay shit. But again, it is such a, it's so Western. It's so Western to believe that every activity needs some kind of physical institution or
it has to be compartmentalized.
Right. It's just so ridiculous to me. It's so ridiculous.
Sorry, I don't want to see people fucking in the streets. Sue me. Lock me up. It's just personally not for me. And again, he brings up things he knows people are going to agree with in the middle of his argument. Like, what gay shit?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna play the rest of the video to the end.
Yeah, and I think especially on this digital times, internet times, we have to start asking ourselves what privacy actually is. What does it actually look like? Because I feel like, in the midst of so much surveillance, that is something that is also shifting in front of our eyes, and suddenly it's this moment, when do I actually can have it? What does it mean anymore? How can I, actually have it and provide it to others,
Yeah.
And yeah, because I feel like that is what's happening also.
Because the same people that say that I should be ashamed of my body and keep that shit in private are the very ones who are doxing me
Surveilling you
and putting my personal information out on the internet. Shit that I did not put out there.
Right.
These
so
are the
it very
same
much contradicts
right.
that, you know?
These are the same people demanding me to tell them what my disabilities are. These are the same people that are asking me, what are you? What is it?
Right.
Because they don't know what my gender is. And honestly, my gender is not their fucking business. So the same people who are crying about that needs to be done in your home, there's a time and place, blah, 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 privacy, are the ones who actually lack the most boundaries around respecting people's right to privacy. Y'all malfuedeng will be posting literal wanted posters of me on the internet with your lies, slandering my name, with your projections of coloniality onto me, but claim to care about safety, privacy, bodily autonomy, the safety of children.
No.
Please
You just want
spare
scapegoats.
Me. You want scapegoats and you want to be a cop. Cop. You want to be a cop. Yeah. That's it.
And then we can wrap it up in that note.
Yeah, and on that note, fuck y'all. But to those who found, value and found this video educational, like I said, you can follow the both of us on our social media. I'll tag all the information below. You can subscribe to this channel. Yeah, and we'll be making more videos like this in the future. Because I'm tired of people, also clipping and cutting my videos. And there is so much value in long form content. So I'm going to start making,
And report these pages that are the ones currently harassing Toya.
Report these people.
These fucking clowns.
One of which is a minor, where are your parents?
Yeah.
Where are your fucking parents? The same parents that claim to care about child safety, and yet they're allowing their child to harass grown-ass people on the internet. Unprovoked. Get a hobby.
He's big mad. I think people can critique you, like me, and still have opinions on privacy. Do I agree with people doxing him? No. I don't think that's cool for anybody to do with anybody. I do not support doxing at all. Not even a little bit. That's never cool. Also, they very clearly have no idea how to edit. There's so much blank space in this. They didn't even add in the things they meant to add. There's no editing, actually. And then they said to get a hobby, but talking about Toya is my hobby. So now I'm a little bit confused, because we finally finished the podcast. It's late. I'm tired. It's 12:07 a.m. and I still need to edit this video. No! Please subscribe. I'm trying to get 10,000 subscribers by my birthday, November 23rd. And we're so close. 10,000 is just a fraction of my goal. My goal is to get 1 trillion subscribers and be the first channel with 1 trillion subscribers. So if you subscribe, it just gets me a little bit closer to that goal of 1 trillion. Also subscribe, or else Toya will be nude in your dreams tonight. Follow my Instagram at AJTalksAlot. Guys, I need your help over there. The straights have found my page. I know some straights watch me, but you guys are the cool straights. There's Instagram straights who've found my page, and they are just following me and DMing me weird stuff. I unfortunately had a reel go viral, and so people are following me that are being weird. So I just need your positive energy to help cancel out that negative energy. So I'm only following people back who it doesn't say followed from a reel next to their name. Because when you follow me from a reel, it says, like, followed from reel next to your name. So as long as it doesn't say that, I will follow you back. Okay, bye.